Good day. Welcome to Oil for the Journey. My name is Tony Turner, and I'm your journey reader for today. Today's reading is taken from the book of Matthew, chapters 24 and 25. Our scheduled reading follows the Bridges for Peace, Ignite the Truth Bible reading plan. So let's begin with Matthew chapter 24. As Jesus was leaving the temple courts, his disciples came to him and pointed out the beautiful architecture of the temple. And Jesus turned to them and said, "Take a good look at all these things, for I'm telling you, there will not be one stone left upon another. It will all be leveled." Later, when they arrived at the Mount of Olives, his disciples came privately to where he was sitting and said, "Tell us, when will all these things happen? And what sign should we expect to signal your coming and the completion of this age?" Jesus answered, "At that time, deceptions will run rampant. So beware that you are not fooled, for many will appear on the scene, claiming my authority or saying about themselves, 'I am the Anointed One,' and they will lead many astray. You will hear of wars and revolutions on every side, with more rumors of wars to come. Don't panic or give in to your fears, for the breaking apart of the world system is destined to happen. But it won't be the end, not yet. It will be unfolding. Nations will go to war against nations and kingdoms against kingdoms, and there will be terrible earthquakes, horrible epidemics, and famines in place after place. This is how the birth pangs of the new age will begin. You can expect to be persecuted, even killed, for you will be hated by all the nations because of your love for me. Then many will stop following me and fall away, and they will betray one another and hate one another. And many lying prophets will arise, deceiving multitudes and leading them away from the path of truth. There will be such an increase of the sin of lawlessness, and that those whose hearts once burned with passion for God and others will grow cold. But hold your hope firmly to the end, and you will experience life and deliverance. Yet through it all, the good news of heaven's kingdom will be proclaimed all over the world, providing every nation with a demonstration of the reality of God. And after that, the end of this age will arrive. When you witness what Daniel prophesied, the disgusting destroyer taking its stand in the holy place, then those in the land of Judah must escape to the higher ground. On that day, if you happen to be outside, don't go back inside to gather belongings. And if you're working out in the field, don't ride back home to get a coat. It will be especially hard for pregnant women and for those nursing their babies in those days. So pray that your escape will not be during the winter months or on a Sabbath, for this will be the time of great misery, beyond the magnitude of anything the world has ever seen or will ever see. Unless God limited those days, no one would escape. But because of his love for those chosen to be his, he will shorten that time of trouble. And you will hear reports, some saying, "Look, he has returned. The Messiah is over here," or "The Messiah is over there." Don't believe it. For there will be imposters falsely claiming to be God's anointed one, and false prophets will arise to perform miracle signs to lead astray. If possible, those God has chosen to be his. Remember this, for I prophesy it will happen. So if someone says to you, "Look, the anointed one has returned, he is in the desert," don't go chasing after him. Or if they say to you, "Look, he is here in our house," don't believe it. The appearing of the Son of Man will burst forth with brightness of lightning shining from the eastern sky to the west. How do birds of prey know where the dead body is? They just know instinctively. And so you will know when I appear. Then immediately, this is what will take place. The sun will be darkened, and the moon will give no light. The stars will fall from the sky, and all the cosmic powers will be shaken. Then the sign announcing the Son of Man will appear in the sky, and all the nations of the earth will mourn over him. And they will see the Son of Man appearing in the clouds of heaven, revealed with mighty power, great splendor, and glory. And he will send his messengers with the loud blast of the trumpet, and with a great voice they will gather his beloved chosen ones from the four winds, from one end of heaven to the other. Now, learn the lesson from the parable of the fig tree. When spring arrives and it sends out its tender branches and sprouts leaves, you know that summer is near. So it will be with you. For when you observe all these things taking place, you will know that he is near, even at the door. I assure you, the end of this age will not come until all I have spoken comes to pass. The earth and the sky will wear out and fade away before one word I speak loses its power or fails to accomplish its purpose. Concerning that day and exact hour, no one knows when it will arrive, not even the angels of heaven, only the Father knows. For it will be like as it was in the days of Noah, when the Son of Man appears. Before the flood, people lived their lives eating, drinking, marrying, and having children. They didn't realize the end was near until Noah entered the ark, and then suddenly the flood came and took them all away in judgment. It will happen the same way when the Son of Man appears. At that time, 2 men will be working on the farm. One will be taken away in judgment, the other left. 2 women will be grinding grain. One will be taken away in judgment, the other left. This is why you must stay alert, because no one knows the day your Lord will come. But realize this, if a homeowner had known what time of night the burglar would come to rob his house, he would have been alert and ready and not let his house be robbed. So always be ready, alert, and prepared, because at an hour when you're not expecting him, the Son of Man will come. What will qualify a servant to manage his master's house? He would be a wise servant who is both faithful and dependable. The master would commission him to oversee others, for he would lead them well and give them food at the right time. What joy and blessing will come to that faithful servant when the master comes home to find him serving with excellence. I can promise you the master will raise him up and put him in charge of all that he owns. But the evil servant says in his heart, my master delays his coming, and who knows when he will return. And because of the delay, the servant mistreats all those in his master's household instead of caring for the ones he was appointed to serve. As he abuses the other servants and begins to party with drunkards, let me tell you what will happen to him. His master will suddenly return unexpectedly, and he will remove the abusive, selfish servant from his position of trust. And the master will cut him in two and assign him to the place of great sorrow and anguish along with all the other hypocrites. When my coming draws near, heaven's kingdom realm can be compared to 10 maidens who took their oil lamps and went outside to meet the bridegroom and his bride. 5 of them were foolish and ill-prepared, for they took no extra oil for their lamps. 5 of them were wise, For they took flasks of olive oil with their lamps. When the bridegroom didn't come when they expected, they all grew drowsy and fell asleep. Then suddenly, in the middle of the night, they were awakened by the shout, "Get up! The bridegroom is here. Come out and have an encounter with him." So all the girls got up and trimmed their lamps, but the foolish ones were running out of oil. So they said to the 5 wise ones, "Share your oil with us, because our lamps are going out." "We can't," they replied. "We don't have enough for all of us. You'll have to go and buy some for yourselves." While the 5 girls were out buying oil, the bridegroom appeared. Those who were ready and waiting were escorted inside with him and the wedding party to enjoy the feast. And then the door was locked. Later, the 5 foolish girls came running up to the door and pleaded, "Lord, let us come in." But he called back, "Go away. Do I know you? I can assure you, I don't even know you." That is the reason you should always stay awake and be alert, because you don't know the day or the hour when the bridegroom will appear. Again, heaven's kingdom is like a wealthy man who went on a long journey and summoned all his trusted servants and assigned his financial management over to them. Before he left on his journey, he entrusted a bag of 5,000 gold coins to one of his servants, to another a bag of 2,000 gold coins, and to the third a bag of 1,000 gold coins, each according to his ability to manage. The one entrusted with 5,000 gold coins immediately went out and traded with the money, and he doubled his investment. In the same way, the one who was entrusted with 2,000 gold coins traded with the sum and likewise doubled his investment. But the one who had been entrusted with 1,000 coins dug a hole in the ground and buried his master's money. After much time had passed, the master returned to settle accounts with his servants. The one who was entrusted with 5,000 gold coins came and brought 10,000, saying, "See, I have doubled your money." Commending his servant, the master replied, "You have done well and proven yourself to be my loyal and trustworthy servant. Because you have been a faithful steward to manage a small sum, now I will put you in charge of much, much more. You will experience the delight of your master, who will say to you, 'Enter into the joy of your Lord.'" Then the one who had been entrusted with 2,000 gold coins came in and said, "See, my master, I have doubled what you have entrusted to me." Commending his servant, the master replied, "You have done well and proven yourself to be my loyal and trustworthy servant. Because you were faithful to manage a small sum, now I will put you in charge of much, much more. You will experience the delight of your master, who will say to you, 'Enter into the joy of your Lord.'" Then the one who had been entrusted with the 1,000 gold coins came to his master and said, "Look, sir, I knew that you were a hard man to please, and you were a shrewd and ruthless businessman who grows rich on the backs of others. I was afraid of you. So I went and hid your money and buried it in the ground. But here it is. Take it. It's yours." But his master said to him, "You're an untrustworthy and lazy servant. If you knew I was a shrewd and ruthless businessman who always makes a profit, why didn't you deposit my money in the bank? Then I would have received it all back with interest when I returned. But because you were unfaithful, I will take the 1,000 gold coins and give it to the one who has 10,000. For the one who has will be given more until he overflows with abundance. And the one with hardly anything, even that little he has will be taken from him." Then the master said to his other servants, "Now throw that good-for-nothing servant away from me into the outer darkness, where there will be great misery and anguish. When the Son of Man appears in his majestic glory with all his angels by his side. He will take his seat on his throne of splendor. And all the nations will be gathered together before him. And like a shepherd who separates the sheep from the goats, he will separate all the people. The sheep he will put on his right side and the goats on his left. And then the king will turn to those on his right and say, "You have a special place in my Father's heart. Come and experience the full inheritance of the kingdom realm that has been destined for you from the foundation of the world. For when you saw me hungry, you fed me. When you found me thirsty, you gave me drink. When I had no place to stay, you invited me in. And when I was poorly clothed, you covered me. When I was sick, you tenderly cared for me. And when I was in prison, you visited me." Then the godly will answer him, "Lord, when did we see you hungry or thirsty and give you food and something to drink? When did we see you with no place to stay and invite you in? When did we see you poorly clothed and cover you? When did we see you sick and tenderly care for you, or in prison and visit you?" And the king will answer them, "Don't you know? When you cared for one of the least of these, my little ones, my true brothers and sisters, you demonstrated love for me." Then to those on his left, the king will say, "Leave me, for you are under the curse of the eternal fire that has been destined for the devil and all his demons. For when you saw me hungry, you gave me no food. And when you saw me thirsty, you gave me no drink. And I had no place to stay, and you refused to take me in as your guest. When you saw me poorly clothed, you clothed your hearts, and did not clothe me. When you saw that I was sick, you didn't lift a finger to help me. And when I was in prison, you never came to visit me." And then those on his left will say, "Lord, when did we see you hungry or thirsty and did not give you food and something to drink? When did we see you homeless or poorly clothed? When did we see you sick and not help you, or in prison and not visit you?" Then he will answer them, "Don't you know? When you refused to help one of the least important among these, my little ones, my true brothers and sisters, you refused to help and honor me." And they will depart from his presence into eternal punishment. But the godly and beloved sheep will enter into eternal bliss. So in reading these chapters, I think that what it's speaking to me is that it's just so important, much more important than the date, the hour, whenever it is that Jesus is going to return. We know that he's going to return, definitely. But I think there are a couple of things that he wants us to keep in mind. And that is that, first of all, we need to be faithful. That's what being ready is going to be about. It's about being faithful. And it's also going to be about being diligent to do the things that he has instructed, and the things that he's put in our hands to care for, that we would care for them in such a way that they will bear fruit, because God is always about bearing fruit. And if we just take what we have and stick it away, as opposed to going out and sharing what we have, or going out and pointing people to the way, which is Jesus, then what's going to happen is our lives are going to be empty. I love it when he says, those that were prepared, those that were ready, were faithful, they were the ones that were able to enter into the joy of the Lord. They were the ones that were able to enter in and feast with him. And if that's what you want, then I think it's real important that you be ready, that you be faithful and diligent with your gifts.